Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and I wanted to talk to you for a second about about this thing I just saw today. I saw where Jay Z was. A reporter asked me about this today. He asked me about some lyrics Jay Z spit in a freestyle where he was talking about Spotify and this situation with him and Google and all these companies he's trying to compete with the launch of his new product called Tidal. Now, I saw that Maria Lloyd and Andre Hatchett had something to say about this earlier, and I encourage you to take a look at their analysis as well. I'll give you my take on it. But a reporter asked me about it, and I was trying to really think about how I feel about this, and I was trying not to be overly biased in terms of how I feel about Jay Z and his performance as a human being, up to date, as well as his performance as an artist. First and foremost, I don't think any of us can disagree that Jay Z, amongst rappers, is one of the best artists there is. I was on Vlad TV not too long ago. They asked me who I thought the king of hip hop was. I said you would probably have to give that title to Jay Z because Jay Z's had the greatest impact when you measure artistic ability along with the respect from those who are purists in the music in the art form. In addition to those who sold the most records, he didn't sell the most. I think Eminem sold the most hip hop records, but at the same time, it's still hard not to argue that Jay Z is not the king of hip hop because you can't just measure based on album sales. Because Eminem gets that Elvis effect. That's what I call that. Now I was looking at the lyrics and I don't just listen to what an artist says. I don't just listen to the beat and the music. I read the verses. I read the lyrics to try to understand what they're trying to say. So I analyzed some of what Jay Z said and I was looking at the lyrics and here's some of it. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but it says I don't need no middleman to talk to my niggas. I understand you don't understand. I understand if you don't understand. I figure my niggas. That's where we differ. I take what's mine. You accept what they give you. I get you. I don't take no checks. I take my respect. So, so what I'm hearing there, what I'm getting there is that he does seem to pride himself on being an independent businessman. And I think that that's somewhat debatable. I don't know. I'm going to ask Dame Dash about this tomorrow. We're going to talk, and because I think that he feels that one of the reasons that he got abandoned by Jay Z, or that Rockefeller got abandoned, was because Jay Z did go take a check instead of sticking with the company that he built. And in case you don't know, that's one of the critiques people have of integration. All the stuff they talked about in the civil rights marches and all that integration, where we were brought into white institutions. What people don't talk about is the fact that integration actually de-institutionalized the black community. It disintegrated. Integration disintegrated black institutions. If you really want to understand this in more detail, go watch the interview I did with Dr. Kevin Cosby out of Louisville, Kentucky, who is the president of Simmons College, which is an HBCU down in Kentucky. He does a great analysis of this. So Jay-Z, abandoned Rockefeller to go jump over to Def Jam to take a check from Def Jam. Maybe he got some equity as well, but he was pretty much taking a check because last time I checked, Def Jam was not his company. And when you take the talent out of a black institution and you go to a predominantly white institution, what happens is they end up plucking away the very best of us, and the masses of us get left behind because the white man is not going to make room for the masses of black people. He makes room for a select few elite Negroes. And Jay-Z is one of the select few that has benefited tremendously from integration. Whereas there are tens of thousands of other black people who are completely marginalized, kind of left outside of American prosperity. And those are the people that you see rioting in Baltimore and stuff like that. Because I think that Jay-Z and Beyonce and these others that seem to be trying to care a little bit more about the people that they've been accused of leaving behind, they have to understand that they're part of their role in the black community is not just to be powerful, rich, and successful and do these cool videos and talk about how much money you have and what kind of car you drive. Is to actually create institutions so that all these people can get jobs, so they can have opportunities, so that you're helping not just yourself and a couple of your niggas, you're helping a couple thousand people have opportunities they wouldn't have had otherwise. But again, I don't know. I say this without knowing every single thing Jay-Z's doing. But when I see his music, when I see what he presents to the public, I'm not seeing much of anything that seems to build on the idea of black institution building. I certainly know that when that whole deal went down with the Brooklyn Nets and that arena they built, Jay-Z benefited tremendously. He made a few $1,000,000, even though he wasn't a real owner of that team. He only owned 1/15th of 1% of that company. So that's what 1/1500th of the company. So he was really just a mascot for the team more so than an actual owner. But they marketed him as an owner to give black people the illusion that he was a boss. So the thing is, we have to know the difference between somebody who pretends to be a boss and somebody who's really a boss. I'm not going to say Jay-Z's not a boss in other areas of his life, and I think he's doing quite well. But when you are really a boss, you're employing lots of people. You're feeding families, lots of families. And if you're a boss in the black community, you're feeding lots and lots of black families. And I would say that if you've got, put it this way, you'll never see a day where Boyce Watkins is sitting on $700 million and I'm not employing at least 5,000 black people or more. At least 5,000, maybe 10,000. I don't know. I would try to employ as many of y'all as I can when I get that first $700 million. So when I ask you for money for something, just know that's where that money's going. But anyway, let's keep going down the list of Jay-Z's lyrics so we can keep analyzing this. So he says, I take what's mine, you accept what they give you. I don't take no checks, I get my respect. Pharrell even told me, go with the best bet, which is kind of strange because from what I understand, Spotify really ripped Pharrell off big time. He was in Spotify, I think it was Spotify, where he made $4,000 or something from his song Happy being played, I think 1 billion times or some crazy number. Jimmy Iovine offered the safety net, so I guess that means the guy that Dr. Dre worked with offered him some money. Google came around with a crazy check, so Google offered him some money. I feel like YouTube is the culp-a-rit. See, that's creative rhyming. That's a nice rhyme scheme. Culp-a-rit, crazy. Culp-a-rit, crazy check. That's okay. Anyway, so he says YouTube is the culprit. They only pay you a tenth of what you're supposed to get. So apparently what he's talking about, which I agree with to a point, is that YouTube has a lot of market power. And what they do is they end up extracting the bulk of the wealth that comes from the video views, and they sell these ad slots to corporations that pay them money, so that they then pay the artists a fraction of the money they collect from the corporations. There are a lot of people who complain about YouTube not giving them their fair share of the money. But there are a lot of people, though, who do make pretty good money from the YouTube channels. It depends on how you monetize above and beyond that. But anyway, moving on. Let's see here. You know a nigga died for equal pay, right? Now, that's the part that's the first point where I started to have an issue. You're talking about black people who've died for equal pay, who've died for equal opportunity. I don't like the idea of Jay-Z kind of invoking people who've died for what they believe in into his little beef, his little multi-million dollar beef with Spotify. He's got millionaire problems. He's got 99 problems, and the struggles of the black community ain't one. The fact is that Jay-Z, for the most part, has been absent for most of the black struggle. Now, I did hear of something about he and Beyonce allegedly funneling some money to bail out some protesters in Baltimore, which I think is a great first step. Absolutely a great first step. But it is still a first step, and it's a step that I think that they're taking because they like to be where the people are. They like to be trendy. They like to be cool. They like to be connected and relevant. And right now, if you're not down with what black people are doing, then you're not going to be relevant. So I think that they probably felt some pressure to start to get more involved because they see the whole black community is changing. People are becoming more educated. They're starting to shift and start to demand more from these little token paper black celebrities who are propped up by white people. And I think that's a wonderful thing. I encourage anybody who is part of that battle to keep fighting for that. Keep fighting for these people to represent you because you are buying their albums, buying their records. You're giving them relevancy. You're giving them this street cred. They then go off and sell to white people and get rich from. They owe you something. They owe something to their community. Never ever get tricked into believing that a black celebrity owes nothing to the black community. When they start that crap about I only take care of me and mine, I don't owe nobody nothing, then fine, you abandon them just like they're abandoning you. So I mean, because right now we're going through too many serious things in our community to have clowns like Floyd Mayweather showing you that he bought 10 new Bentleys last week, but doesn't have enough money to even give $1 million to a school. No, I'm sorry, you can't forgive that. I mean, when you see people that are throwing money in the air and wasting it and bragging to you about it and somehow using that as a way to get you to have even greater amounts of affection toward that person, that's sick. That's insane. That's crazy. Never let a celebrity do that. They can't. If they're going to reel you in, let them reel you in with their talent. Let them reel you in with their purpose. Don't let them reel you in with ignorance. Never applaud ignorance because that's all it is. It's just ignorance, and it gets fed to our community in such abundance that we think ignorance is normal. We think this crap is normal. No, it's not normal. Let's keep it moving. So Jay-Z's talking about people that die for equal pay. He's not one of those people. Jay-Z will never have to die for equal pay. He's already severely overpaid. He's almost a billionaire. So this whole idea of you talking about dying for equal pay, I don't even know what you're talking about because you're not fighting for equal pay. You're fighting to have $1 billion instead of $900 million. Let's just not get that twisted. That's what it is. This ain't back in the days, right? So I guess he's saying I'm not a slave. This ain't back in the days. Next, but I can tell by the way they killed Freddie Gray, right? Shot Mike Brown, like the way they did Trey, right? Okay. Y'all gonna keep choking niggas. We gonna turn style. I ain't your token nigga. Okay. Um, the deaths of Michael Brown, Freddie Gray, and Trayvon Martin, those were incidents in which Jay-Z and Beyonce and these other celebs had ample opportunity to lend their very powerful voices to stand up for these very important causes. What is really disturbing to me is the idea that Jay-Z will invoke these names. He'll speak these names, Freddie Gray, Mike Brown, and Trayvon Martin, when it's convenient for him, when it's going to make him more money, when he can use this energy that you already have and this compassion you have toward the Gray family and what's going on in Baltimore and Ferguson and other places. He's utilizing that energy to get you to feel that somehow your resistance to white supremacy means you have to go support Tidal. Remember, that's what all this is about, unfortunately. A lot of this sounds to me like it's about supporting Jay-Z and Tidal and getting people to support his platform. If there was no Tidal, there would not be a freestyle. I truly believe that. In fact, over the last several days, from what I understand, Jay-Z's made one announcement after another to try to get people excited about Tidal because from what I also understand, from what I've been reading, from what a reporter told me today, Tidal's really struggling. Now, I have to look at the exact numbers, but I don't think Tidal's doing as well as Jay-Z hoped. And I think this is an interesting battle to determine who has more power, the artist or the corporation. Historically, it's been the corporation, but with Jay-Z and Beyonce, it could be a different situation because here you have an aggregation of massive amounts of power where you've got Jay-Z, who's at the top of his field, then you got Beyonce, who's at the top of her field. They're married, which means that they have a natural concentration of power. But then you're not just bringing Jay-Z and Beyonce, you're bringing in the people they're affiliated with and pulling together that power. And then also the fact that they do happen to own a lot of their own stuff. It does actually create an interesting power struggle here. And I am curious to see how it works out. I don't know if Jay-Z is going to win, but it'll be interesting to watch. But anyway, I'm not going to keep reading the rest of the lyrics. But what he does kind of go into after that is that it almost seems like he feels that there is a resistance to the idea of him as a black man getting rich, that people will support the products of Steve Jobs or Phil Knight or Spotify, but nobody says a word. But everyone seems to have a problem with him as a black man getting more money, which may be true to a point. But remember, the success of Jay-Z is not. It's almost entirely disconnected from the success of the black community. Jay-Z represents the black elite. The black elite are those Negroes who are absorbed into integration. Remember, he's basically made his money by going around the world and calling himself a nigga in front of crowds full of white people. That's why he makes his money. If it wasn't for white people, Jay-Z would not be rich. So Jay-Z's made his money by going around the world, calling himself a nigga in Paris in front of crowds of white people. So he's basically exported the essence of hip-hop to white audiences, predominantly white audiences around the world. But there are some people of color in there too. I know a lot of black Jay-Z fans, so I'm not saying there are no black Jay-Z fans. But at the same time, those corporations that give him money, they give him money because the white kids on college campuses are buying his albums. Black people continuously fuel him with the street credibility, the legitimacy that he then is able to export out into broader communities, almost the same way you had a few Asian men who exported kung fu to the rest of the world out of Chinese culture. So we got to the point where every American thought every Chinese person knew kung fu because we saw all these kung fu movies on TV back in the day. So, with that being said, it does not mean that Jay-Z does not have a right to make his money. But if he's going to make his money, if he's going to fight his battles, I think he needs to fight those battles by himself. I don't think we need to invoke the spirits of dead men like Freddie Gray and Eric Garner and Michael Brown and Trayvon Martin into Jay-Z's fight to get a few $1 million out of Spotify or Tidal or YouTube or Google or Tidal or whoever he's working with. I also don't like the idea that he is somehow trying to make this into a pure race thing. We know that he might have his struggles as a black man, absolutely. But my belief is that when it comes to any celebrity, you give them what they give you. Now, if you can think of things that Jay-Z has done that are of meaningful magnitude for the black community, I'm going to talk about he gave 10 pairs of Air Jordans to the kids at the local school, or he donated $5,000 to give a scholarship. That's nothing. He can do that with the money he makes in the next hour. He can do that in money he makes in the next 20 seconds, I'm sure. I'm looking for something significant. You've got several $100 million in the bank. Brother, you got to show and prove. What institutions are you building that are really strengthening the black community? When Dr. Umar Johnson was trying to raise money for a school for black boys, how many of these celebrities showed up and gave him a check for $100K? That's nothing. They'll spend $100K at the damn strip club, but won't spend $100K on the school for black children. That shows you just how little they care about you or care about your kids. That's just a fundamental fact. That is a simple fact. That is a simple fact that reveals the blatant ignorance that we're being so fed with that we think this ignorance is normal. It is not normal for some of our biggest black celebrities like Floyd Mayweather to brag to you about how they dropped $250,000 at a strip club while they're stepping over homeless black people on their way to the next fight. While they're seeing black boys getting shot in the street, black children in neighborhoods where there are no community centers that they could easily build with the money they blew on a Mercedes 2 days ago that they're not even going to drive. It's a mental illness. Now, it does not mean that we should allow them to have the right to go make their money however they want to make it. I mean, if you want to call yourself a nigga in front of white people and get paid to do it, cool. I'm not going to do it, but if that's your thing, that's fine. But don't then come in and somehow try to invoke race when it's convenient for you, when you can't invoke race when it's inconvenient for you. If you're showing up at the front lines every time something goes down with black people, then black people will love you back. That's why black people love Muhammad Ali so much, because believe me, if Muhammad Ali were alive today, he would have been right there in Baltimore with those people. He would have been right there on the front lines on every single one of these issues. People like Stevie Wonder are always there for black people. Stevie Wonder uses the power of his voice. He doesn't go along with some bullshit like, I gave $1,000 to the United Negro College Fund, therefore I've given back to black people. No, Stevie Wonder uses the power of his platform to stand up for what he believes in. John Legend uses the power of his platform to stand up for what he believes in. John Legend can say the very same thing that Jay-Z's saying, and I would actually encourage people to support him, because I'd say, look, this man is showing up to fight for you, so you need to show up and fight for him. It's a quid pro motherfucking quo. Excuse my French, I had to say motherfucking because it just angers me so much when I see that shit that it drives me insane. That's the last time I'm gonna cuss, I promise. But anyway, so the point here, the bottom line is that we've got to love ourselves enough to just say to our celebrities, look, we'll support you if you support us. If you ain't got our back, and I'm talking about consistently, every day, every week, every time we call on you, if you don't have our back consistently, then no, we're not going to have your back. We're not all going to overpay for Tidal so you can go make another song like you did on the Watch the Throne album with a verse like, can you see the private jets flying over you? What the hell is that? What is that? Like, you're really bragging to me about the fact that you've got private jets flying over me, and you made this song in the middle of a recession where black unemployment is through the roof? Like, really? Is that really how you're trying to connect with me, is by telling the masses of us how you're doing so well while everybody else is struggling? This is not some sort of aristocracy. It's insane that we would even let celebrities get away with this, and I think that there are a lot of people who understand where I'm coming from. And those of you who don't, it's cool. Leave your opinion, but the fact is that it's a simple equation. You hook us up, we hook you up. If you can't hook us up, then we have nothing for you. Period. So whether or not Jay-Z has done enough for the black community, I'll leave that up to you to decide. But the fact is, I think we need to set the bar a little bit higher when it comes to our black celebs, because the fact is the majority of them are actually quite worthless. The most of them haven't done much of anything for the black community. A lot of it is because they are controlled by these very same entities that Jay-Z's rapping about in this song. And I would love for Jay-Z to put his money where his mouth is and to put actions in the public that are very consistent with what he's trying to say here. Because so far, I haven't seen enough to really convince me that he's truly got the back of the black community. Once again, if he wasn't trying to promote Tidal, wasn't trying to make money for himself and Blue Ivy, God bless her, the most beautiful child ever, and then his beautiful wife, if he wasn't trying to make money for his family, Jay-Z wouldn't have even spit that verse. He's just trying to get you riled up about racism so you'll go and pay money to buy his little service, and I don't think that's cool. So anyway, that's about it. I just want to throw that 2 cents in there, so I'd love to hear what you think. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. Please take care. God bless. I am gone. Peace.